Hi, this is Matt with Plating Pixels, home of cost-conscious comfort food, and today we're making a simple, classic, double crust apple pie. And this easy homemade apple pie is sure to impress your guests this holiday season. This classic holiday apple pie is using simple techniques that are guaranteed to work. And the best thing is only a couple basic items are needed. You just need a 9-inch pie pan. A rolling pin is going to help with the dough. Let's get started by adding all the dry ingredients to a large bowl. We're using 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 tablespoon of sugar, and 1 teaspoon of salt. Next, we're going to cut the butter into the dry ingredients. And the easiest way to do this is with a pastry knife. If you don't have a butter knife, you can just use 2 forks and that'll work similar. Cut this in, almost like you're mashing potatoes. You're gonna want roughly pea-sized chunks of butter. Now, it does take a little while. I would say maybe 2 minutes of working this. So the next step is to add water. It's roughly 6 to 8 tablespoons. And again, we're using ice cold water to make sure the butter stays firm. You'll start to feel some resistance. It's gonna take a little bit more effort. That means you're getting close and the dough is coming together nicely. Another cue to look out for is you want this flaky, almost like a biscuit batter, but not quite as liquidy, but definitely you want flaky chunks. It's also starting to stick a lot more to this pastry knife. So that means we're getting the right texture and consistency. Making a huge mess here, but it's part of the fun. So the last way to check for doneness is you just grab a ball and squeeze it in your hand. And see how that's pretty much held its shape? That's perfect for our pie crust. So we're gonna split this into roughly 2 evenly sized balls. And it's gonna be a little crumbly when you're working on it. Once you put it in the fridge, it's going to firm up and hold together. Next, we'll do some saran wrap. Wrap it completely. Press it down a little bit to a disc. There's 1/2, and there's our second half for the top. This next step is critical. We need to chill it in the refrigerator for 1 hour. And the reason we chill these is it helps relax the gluten a bit, it keeps the butter firm, and you want that for a nice flaky golden pie crust that's gonna hold up well when baked. While the dough is chilling in the fridge, we can move on to making the apple pie filling. I personally love to combine apples. You can do about half Granny Smith, which are firmer, crisper, are gonna hold up the texture better, and then use a sweeter apple like Gala or Honeycrisp. The first step is you need to peel, core, and slice the apples. The best way to do this is to use an actual apple core. I'll link to the one I like in the comments. You're gonna need about 2.5 pounds or 6 to 7 medium baking apples. Watch how simple this is. Spin, remove, you're left with the core and perfectly good apple. Repeat this for the remaining apples. These are peeled and cored. You want to cut them in roughly bite-sized pieces. We're gonna add them to a large bowl. Add a 1/4 cup of granulated sugar and about 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. So we wanna mix this up. You wanna evenly coat as much of the apples as possible to make sure we get all the liquid drawn out and we don't get any spots that are gonna oxidize. Let these sit, I'd say at least 5 minutes while we continue to the next step. This is my favorite part of making the apple pie filling, is the cooking. The smell is gonna be incredible. Your entire kitchen, your whole home is gonna smell like fresh apple pie. It's gonna be amazing. You wanna start by adding a 1/4 cup or about a 1/2 stick of butter. It can be straight from the fridge. It's just gonna melt in the pan anyways. So we add that in there. You want to cook over roughly medium heat. Next, we're going to add a 1/2 cup of brown sugar. It's going to make this extra delicious and sweet. We're using brown sugar instead of granulated sugar. It's going to caramelize more. It's going to add some richness and some color and just make your apple pie filling extra rich, extra beautiful. Add that in. And finally, you want to add about a 1/4 cup of water. That's gonna help create an actual sauce. This is cooking nicely, it's bubbling a bit, You pretty much just want to cook it until the butter melts and the sugar is dissolved. That'll be about 2 minutes. We're also going to add about a pinch of salt. If you use salted butter, you could skip this step. We're also going to add about a teaspoon and a half tablespoon of vanilla. So this is looking perfect. We're getting some nice bubbles. It's beautiful. And we're ready to add our prepared apple pieces. So they just go straight in. See, there's a little bit of liquid that came out of it, which is what you want. And then just stir to coat. Once the apples cook down a bit, the pectin inside of them is going to thicken a little bit. It's going to create a little bit thicker sauce. So now make sure everything's evenly coated. And finally, it wouldn't be an apple pie filling without cinnamon. So we're going to add about a teaspoon and stir to coat that as well. Now our sauce is nice and brown and it's going to look amazing once the apples cook down. Next step is to cover them. This will help them cook more evenly, break down the apples, and prevent the liquids from evaporating. When you're done, you want to have plenty of liquid left over. We'll thicken it up with cornstarch later, and that's what gets you the rich, silky, amazing apple pie filling that you want. So we're going to let this cook for about 6-ish minutes. The apples are going to be a little bit firm, by the way, if we cook it at about 6 minutes. But that is totally fine. It adds a little bit of nice texture, bite, and more importantly, when you bake it in a pie, which could be up to about an hour depending on the method you use, they're gonna cook down more. So you don't want them completely soft because in a pie, they're gonna end up mushy. We intentionally made a lot of liquid. Now we wanna thicken that up into a nice filling. To do that, we'll start with about 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. Now it's critical to mix it in water ahead of time. This will basically make a slurry. So you want to mix it till it's completely dissolved and it'll look like thin milk. The reason we do cornstarch in water is if you add the powder directly to the filling, it's going to clump up, it's going to seize up. So the pan is about medium low. You want a light bubble. It's pretty simple, but you want to follow along closely. You want to stir constantly and slowly add it. Mix it really good so all the liquid has been incorporated. You want to let this come back to a light boil, basically a rolling boil. Once it starts to bubble, it takes about 1 minute for the cornstarch to thicken. So keep it bubbling, keep it at a simmer, stir constantly for about 1 minute and you should see a change. As you can see, this is thickened up into a delicious, luxurious, silky, smooth apple pie filling. This looks and smells perfect. I can tell this is exactly what we want. It's gonna make an amazing apple pie. The apple pie filling is ready. Let's let it sit at room temperature and cool slightly while we continue to make the pie crust. Now that the 2 pieces of dough have been in the fridge for about an hour, we're unwrapping our first piece of dough. You want to let them sit at room temp about a few minutes. I have this nice mat that helps me measure the size. For a 9-inch pie pan, you want to roll this dough to about 12 inches and about an 1/8 inch of even thickness. That overlap is going to allow it to sit in. You need some for the sides and you also want a little bit to overwrap. Now be sure to lightly flour your surface. This will prevent it from sticking. You can also lightly flour both sides of the dough. And for good measure, you can rub a little bit on your rolling pin. So you want to go from the center out, smooth and even. You can tell the dough is perfect texture and consistency. It's holding up well. It's very pliable. It's not crumbling or breaking on me. It looks great. To make lifting the dough easier, make sure the top is lightly floured so it doesn't stick. And roll the dough loosely around the rolling pin. Pick it up and drape it over the pie. This step is important. You want to let it fall in naturally. Don't push down too hard. Otherwise it'll stretch the dough and create thin spots. With the excess dough, just folded over the edge. We're gonna use that with the top layer to create our nice sealed crimped edge. So we have everything ready. We have our apple pie filling. It's luxurious, it's delicious. I literally just want to eat it all up right now. And we're gonna spoon the filling in there. And I also like to mound the center a little bit. That gives you that classic apple pie dome look. With the pie filling in there, the next step is to place the top piece of dough. Let it fall in there naturally. If you have a little bit of excess on the top, that's okay. Go ahead and trim it to make it even. You want about a 1/2 inch to 1 inch of overhang. And to seal it, roll the dough under itself. It's gonna give you a nice thick edge that we can crimp later. To get that classic, beautiful crimped pie crust, we just wanna work this a little bit. The easiest way to do this is we're gonna use the forefinger and thumb of our non-dominant hand and the forefinger of our dominant hand. So with your non-dominant hand, you wanna pinch it a little bit. The size of the opening affects the size of the crimp. I like to do about a 1/2 inch opening. Then use your other finger to push it in. Then with the next crimp, you wanna start right where that last one ended and see how we're making this really nice V shape, and just continue this all the way around the edge of the pie. The edges are crimped. We're almost ready to put this in the oven. There's just a couple more important steps. We need to cut slits in the top to let the steam and heat and moisture vent. This is critical for a nice bubbly center, crisp, golden, flaky top. And you want to cut at least 4 slits. This part is where you can get a little decorative if you want. You can cut out little leaf shapes. You can do simple slits. I'm probably just going to do a simple star pattern. This is going to give you that classic double crust apple pie look. And the final step to give it that official bakery quality golden brown crust is you want to add an egg wash. It's just a simple mixture, 1 egg beaten with about a tablespoon of water, and brush that over the top. You don't need to coat it very heavily, just a light glossing enough to cover the surface area. And be sure to get the crimped edges as well. The oven's preheated, the pie is crimped, it's got its egg wash, it's ready to go. Okay, let's bake this. I like to cook my apple pies at a higher heat first. This helps set the dough, creates a nice brown, and then reduce the heat to help it cook all the way through and prevent over browning. So we'll put it in the oven first at 425 degrees for 15 minutes. Then reduce the heat to 375 degrees Fahrenheit and bake for another 35 to 45 minutes, depending on the thickness of your dough. With the crimped edge, that can start browning first. Make sure to check the pie often, about halfway through the cooking time. If they are starting to brown too soon, lightly cover the edges in foil and continue to bake. The pie's ready when the edges are golden brown. Another great way is it's gonna smell amazing. Your entire kitchen is gonna smell like fall flavored apple pie. Okay, I've taken the pie out of the oven. It's got a beautiful golden flaky crust. Important step is to let it sit at room temperature for at least 2 hours. This will ensure that the filling will properly set and allow it to slice cleanly. And there's just one last thing to do, slice and serve. And one of my favorite ways to make apple pies even more delicious is just a dollop of whipped cream. And here's my favorite part, the taste test. That tastes amazing. It's just as good or better than any bakery pie you're gonna find. And we made it at home with simple, affordable ingredients from scratch. It smells amazing and it tastes even better. If you enjoyed this video, grab the printable recipe card in the description below and be sure to like and subscribe to get all of my recipes.